Hello, and welcome, or most likely welcome to the few of you who have been here before. Welcome back. This is Sanctella Knits, my knitting podcast, and I am Kathleen. It's very nice to meet you if you have not been here before. It has been over a month since I filmed my first podcast, and so I've been doing a lot of knitting and I have a lot to talk about. Yeah, so let's just get right into it. I will start with what I'm wearing. I am actually wearing two finished objects that were either works in progress or had not even been begun the last time. This is my snood in Malabrigo sock yarn in the colorway Wales Road. I described how I make my snoods in the previous podcast episode, so if you're curious about how I make my snoods, please feel free to go and watch that. I describe it in some detail, although if anyone expresses an interest, I would be happy to figure out how to film a bit of a tutorial of how I make my snoods. So the snood is crocheted. The other thing that I'm wearing that I knit is this scarf. This is a scarf that I self-drafted. It's somewhat similar in shape / construction to the Sophie scarf and other scarves like that. This is my first thing, I think the first thing that I have ever self-drafted, which is very exciting for me. And I decided to name it the Escalia scarf because it has a lace motif that repeats all the way across, and it is knitted tip to tip. I am actually planning to release the pattern for this soon, so if you have any interest in that, I will link the pattern below this video once it is out. But if you have any interest in maybe test knitting this pattern for me, just like leave a comment and we can figure out how to get in touch with each other. Or you could send me a message on Ravelry. I will leave my Ravelry linked below as well. It's this beautiful, very, very, very long scarf. I knit this in Cascade 220 fingering, held together with a strand of Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. I forget the colorway names, but I will include them somewhere on the screen. I'm going to come and hold this up a bit closer to the camera so that you can see the lace motif and see this a little bit closer up. I'm gonna try to not trail it on the floor, but also so that you can see the beautiful lace motif. Let's see. Yeah, so this has this beautiful lace motif. The lace motif, the way that it starts is that the lace motif kind of emerges from sort of a half lace motif, kind of emerges from the edge, and then the lace motif follows the bottom edge of the scarf, and more repeats of the lace motif are then kind of emerge from the top edge of the scarf. And I think it just looks so elegant and chic. And I'm really thrilled with how it turned out. So the lace section of the pattern is fully charted without written instructions, and the rest of the pattern does have written instructions. I had originally intended for this scarf to only be a project for myself, but I put in a lot of work, many hours, figuring out how to chart the lace motif so that I wouldn't get confused. And the charts, most often, lace charts will have in the grid squares for lace charts, the like an empty grid square indicates that something is done in stockinette stitch. So knit on the right side, purl on the wrong side. I will admit I find that kind of confusing. So almost always I have to redraw the lace motif chart in a way that shows which stitches are purl stitches and which stitches are knit stitches, no matter which side of the work they are on. Because I personally find that less confusing. However, if you find the other way of reading lace charts perfectly adequate, you might find my lace charts a bit more confusing. So that's one of my finished objects. I'm so incredibly proud of this. Again, I'm calling it the Escalia scarf. Escalia. So I studied Latin in high school, and truly studying Latin saved my life. I was going to say I don't really feel like I need to get into it, but I was suicidal throughout most of high school. And despite the fact that I had other things in my life that were good and that I cared about and that made my life worth living, they weren't enough. And studying Latin was the thing that kept me going for several years. Anyways, so Escalia is a word in Latin that means the edible part of the artichoke. And I decided to name the scarf pattern Escalia because, to me, the lace chart, the lace motif in the chart looks kind of like an Art Deco geometric interpretation of an artichoke heart. And I also thought it was a beautiful name. So that is the Escalia scarf. I'm very, very excited about it. I've been talking for quite a while just about that. So let's get into finished objects. So I have a couple of finished objects to share. I have first finished object that I'd like to talk about is my socks. I have only worn these once or twice, and only around the house. These are the Petal Drop socks. The pattern is by Florence Miller. Can I get that a bit closer so that you can see, and then maybe a little bit closer so that you can see the lace pattern. Yeah, there we go. So these are the Petal Drop socks. The pattern is by Florence Miller. I really love the pattern. Unfortunately, my calves are quite wide, so the top of the socks does not stretch enough to be comfortable around my calf. And kind of to compound the issue of the socks not quite fitting right, they're a little loose actually around the actual around like the arch of the foot. So they are, however, excellent house socks. And yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe knitting some more socks. I'm not really a person who likes socks that are this thick to wear in my shoes. So I think what's more likely is that I will knit some socks that I just wear around the house. So that is the Petal Drop socks, pattern by Florence Miller. I knit these in Cascade Heritage. I believe the colorway is called Deep Ocean, but I will double check that and put the information on the screen. So that is finished object number 1 that I'm very, very excited about. I'm really proud of myself this is my first ever pair of socks. I'm really proud of myself for taking the plunge and making my first ever pair of socks. I found knitting with such a small needle to be kind of challenging. These were knit on a size US 1 needle, which feels like a toothpick. It feels like knitting with toothpicks. I'm really glad that I knit them on metal needles because I think I don't even know if it's possible to get wooden needles that are a size 1, but I would be really concerned about snapping the needle if I worked with a wooden needle at the needle size for this. So that's the Petal Drop socks, pattern by Florence Miller. I'm very, very proud of those. My next finished object was not even, this was my New Year's Day cast on. This is my first finished object of 2026. I'm very excited about this as well. I've already worn it a few times. And this is my Hoodola. The pattern is by Laura Nelkin. The Hoodola is, it's a hood. I'm not going to put it on, but I do have some pictures of myself wearing this that I'll put up kind of right here. I knit the neck portion of this longer than recommended. I think about twice as long as recommended. Basically, it's a pattern for a hood with a sort of cowl neck. The thing that I really like about this, and the pattern also has a drawstring casing with drawstrings. I did a sort of crocheted I-cord because I don't like knitting I-cord. So I did a crocheted I-cord for the drawstring. The thing that I really like about this pattern is how cozy cozy the neck part is, the sort of cowl neck is. It's very cozy. And I knitted it longer than the pattern recommended because I wanted to be able to tuck the neck portion up to the inside of the hood and have it cover my nose and my cheekbones, so that when I go out for a walk and it's chilly, my cheekbones don't get too cold. I mentioned this in my previous video, but I get migraines, and kind of weirdly, I guess, my cheekbones getting cold can be a migraine trigger for me. So it's actually something that that keeps me from taking walks in colder weather, and so I'm hopeful that that having this hood, which I can snuggle up in, having this hood that I can snuggle up in will help with that and will encourage me to go out on some more walks. I only finished it a couple days ago, and it took a few days to dry when I blocked it. So yeah. Oh, I knit this in Malabrigo Rios in the color Plomo. Malabrigo Rios is a superwash wool worsted weight yarn. And yeah, I'm very pleased with how it turned out. It did grow significantly in blocking. I didn't do a gauge swatch because I don't like to. So I was a little surprised at how much it grew in blocking, but not displeased actually, because the hood was kind of shallow. It wasn't quite as deep of a hood as I had been anticipating, and I was slightly disappointed in the depth of the hood. I did knit it at a fairly tight gauge. I believe I knit this on a US 6 needle, I think, but I'm not entirely certain. I'll put the information up here. But this pattern is just so beautiful, and I'm very, very pleased with how it turned out. My husband actually also thinks it's like the best thing since sliced bread. And so as soon as I had finished it and was trying it on, he asked for one as well. So the yarn for that is on its way. I actually think it should be arriving today. Yeah, so that's that. My next finished object is only half of the project. The project itself is finished, but I only have half of it to show you because the other half is my husband's, and I'm pretty sure he took them to work today. So I knit mittens for myself and my husband. I knit them from the same pattern, in the same yarn base, but in different colors. So I knit these using the Brambly Mitts pattern. I forget the name of the designer, but I'll have it over here. These are so beautiful. The yarn is so yummy. I knit them using Manos del Uruguay, Maxima. The color that I used for my husband's is called Cherry Wood. It's this beautiful sort of burnt orange color, really lovely. And the colorway that I knit mine in is called Regatta. And I got these at a yarn store in Portland. My family, my mom's side of the family, mostly lives in Portland. So most years after a couple days, most years, a few days after Christmas, we will drive down and spend a few days hanging out with my cousins in Portland, which we did this year as well. And yeah, so that was really fun. And then on the day that my husband and I drove back up to Seattle, we stopped at a yarn store because I wanted to pick up some yarn, and I got the yarn both for the Hoodola and for these mittens, which I'll bring a little bit closer. Yeah, oh, look at that. They're so beautiful. It's this slip stitch pattern. The yarn has just a very slight variegation, and I think the effect is just so beautiful. I'm very pleased with these. This is my first, oh, I'm out of focus. Can we come back? Hello? Hello? Are we good? Okay, I think we're good. I'm so pleased with these. This is my first time ever knitting mittens. And I think they turned out really, really beautifully. So I'm very, very, very pleased with this project. I think next I'm gonna go to, I believe that's all of my finished objects. I think that's all of my finished objects. So yeah, works in progress. I only have one that I want to show. Some of my other works in progress have just really been hibernating. So yeah, so I only have one that I want to show, and I have it in this bag right here. And I actually have it in a Ziploc bag inside of that. So this is another Ascalia scarf. This one is going to be for my mother. It looks very crumpled at the moment. But I think it will turn out really beautiful. I am knitting this in Hazel Knits Lively DK in the colorway Cannon Beach. We picked this color out for my mom because it's sort of the color that her hair is turning as it grays. And I thought that it was really beautiful and elegant. My mom and I picked this color out together, and yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased with this. I think it will. Look much better after blocking, of course. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how this is turning out. Yeah, so I'm knitting it on a size US 3 needle, which is the same needle that I used for this one. And yeah, it's a really fun project. My mom is actually knitting. She is very graciously test knitting the pattern for me. She's knitting one for my younger sister, which She's knitting one for my younger sister, which she is making in the same yarns that I used for this, Cascade 220 fingering, plus knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. However, she's doing the one for my sister in these beautiful, vibrant shades of pink. My sister is a bright spring in terms of color season. I like to say that she's one of 5 people in the world who can make Danger Orange look like a fashion statement, which she can and does. It's very impressive. So yeah, she's more than halfway through the Escalia for my sister, and she's been giving me some good feedback on the pattern, which I've been really appreciating. So that is the Escalia. That is my one work in progress that I'm going to show today. I think, all of my other, I'm actually just gonna let that run out. Camera's about to stop recording. So I'm just gonna take a sip of my tea. Okay. So that is, it's still in frame. Okay. So that's my one work in progress that I'm going to be showing today. My other works in progress are all hibernating. And I have 2 things that I'm going to be starting pretty soon. Actually 4 things that I'm going to be starting pretty soon. 3 of them, the yarn should be arriving today. And one of them I already have the yarn for. So I will show off, I'll show off the yarn that I have. This is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the color Vintage Tinsel. Let's see, it's beautifully sparkly. Let's see if the camera's gonna focus on that. It has this beautiful, beautiful sparkle. It's so gorgeous. I don't think it's focusing on the yarn. Well, are we gonna focus on the yarn camera? Yeah, there we go. So it's this beautiful sparkly colorway. And I think this is usually a sock yarn, but my husband saw this at the yarn store in Portland and had huge heart eyes at this yarn. He just thinks it's so beautiful. He really, I think I may have mentioned this last time. He really loves things that are sparkly. So, so I'm going to be knitting him a Musselburgh hat out of this yarn. And then I will, of course, be knitting him a Hoodola out of Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Chameleon. That will be coming today. The other 2 yarns that are coming today are Malabrigo Sock in a colorway that I will not mention, just in case my best friend is watching this, because that will be turning into a pair of socks for her. And then the other yarn that's coming today is several skeins of Cascade 220 in, I believe, the color Midnight Heather. And that is going to be combining with some Barocco Ariel that I have in stash in the colorway, I believe the colorway Calypso. And I will be making myself a winter's pullover. The pattern is by Ozetta, and I'm really excited about that. That sweater has been on my wish list for a while, and I'm really excited to finally be making it. So that is it as far as yarn acquisitions go that I'm going to talk about. But I do have two other things that I want to mention. Two other sort of acquisitions-y things that I want to talk about. The first of those is this pillow. It's this huge sort of U-shaped pillow. That sort of horseshoe shaped pillow. It goes around the waist, and I think it may have originally been marketed as a nursing pillow. I found it, I searched for, I think the search term that I used was like lap pillow for knitting. And this was one of the things that came up. And this was actually a Christmas gift from my parents, which I'm very grateful for. It's been so great. I was having this issue where my elbows were starting to hurt a little bit, which is, I've had some nerve issues with my elbows before, with both elbows, in fact. I had like a repetitive stress injury that affected my ulnar nerve a few years ago. And since then, the nerves in my ulnar nerves, which run through the sort of the back of the elbow, have been a little bit more sensitive. And so this pillow is fantastic because it supports my elbows. I'm able to have better posture, and it also supports the knitting so that I can have the knitting be a little bit higher up so that I can see a little bit more clearly what I'm working on, especially if the light is a little bit dimmer. But also just so that I don't have to be putting extra strain on my elbows. And so this pillow has gotten a lot of use in the last 2 weeks since I got it. And I am really, really happy about this. I think this might be one of my favorite, hilariously, I think this might be probably is going to end up being my most used knitting tool, which I think is kind of funny. So that's this amazing pillow. So I am very pleased with it. So that's the pillow. And then the last thing I want to show off is this little A6 zip up binder. I'm gonna open this up and show you what I have inside. So on the inside, I have at the very front, there's this pouch, this sort of zipper pouch that has a bunch of little end caps for interchangeable circular cables. It has some darning needles. It has cable needles. It has sort of those sort of little things in here. And then we get into, I have these little plastic pouches, and which I labeled. I don't yet have a, come on camera. I wonder if the light being so bright is affecting this. So this is a US 0 2mm needle. I don't yet have that needle, but I wanted to make the pouch for it for when I do. And then I have US 1, US 1.5, US 2, US 2.5, 3, and then I also have their size in millimeters as well. So just kind of pouches for all of the different sizes of needles. I have some of my shorties in here, going all the way up to, I think, so the biggest needle size that I have a pouch for is a US 15. If I decide to put bigger needles in here, I might just put an additional sticker right here that's like US 17 or whatever. And then I have pouches for cables of different sizes, so 16 inch, 20 inch, 24, 32, 40, 47, and 60, although I don't have a 60 inch needle yet. And then in the back I have this gauge ruler and a cable key. So that is my needle book. I wanted a way to organize my needles, and I did a bit of looking around, and I just didn't see anything like this, anything like what I wanted. So I decided to just put it together myself. So I just put it together myself, and I'm very pleased with it. I showed it to my mother the other day, and after she had flipped through it, she asked me to put one together for her birthday. So I don't tell her, but I will be doing that as a birthday gift for my mom. So I think oh yes, okay. There's one more thing that I want to talk about. Just a moment. I have to. So there is one more thing that I want to talk about. And that is my Make 9 for 2026. I kind of in the vein of what Emily Knits did for this year, I am also doing prompts rather than specific patterns. But so I'm going to put the graphic of it right up here, and I'll just talk through it. So the first item on my Make 9 for 2026 is a vest / slipover. I only have one vest, the vest that I was wearing in my previous video, which, like I mentioned in that video, belonged to my grandfather, who has passed away, and it was knit by my mother. And so it's a very special piece. It's a piece that I absolutely treasure, but it's also a piece that tends to bring up some emotions when I wear it. And I don't necessarily want that being kind of my only option as far as vests go. So I would like to knit some sort of vest / slipover. I would like to knit a summer top. I don't have any summer tops that I have knit, and I actually have several in my queue. This was a little bit inspired by my Ravelry queue. I would like to make a cardigan. I have a cardigan that is half finished, that I've done the body, and I still need to do the sleeves of. I don't completely love the length of it, so I'm not certain. Yeah, I just don't completely love the length of it. And it's not a great color for me. It's the Seasons cardigan that I mentioned in my previous podcast. So I'm not certain. I'm hoping that when I block it, I can make it a bit wider, especially towards the bottom, just because I'm pear-shaped. And it doesn't quite fit around my hips, unfortunately, despite sizing up substantially. So yeah, so I'm not entirely certain what to do for that, but yeah, I will definitely I'll definitely figure out what I want to do for that. Yeah, it's something that I'll figure out what I want to do. It's just not a, it's not really an immediate priority. So I may use finishing that as my cardigan for my Make 9. I may make a different cardigan as well. I have finished a long-standing whip on my Make 9. That's definitely something that I want to do. That could be, I think I have 3 that are quite long-standing whips. The Seasons cardigan, the stripy Faroese shawl, and I have a purple lace shawl as well. That is quite a long-standing whip. So that could be ticked off by any of those 3. Finishing the temperature blanket is another, is the central square of my Make 9. I definitely want to finish that this year. My goal actually is to catch up. I'm about a month and a week behind in terms of rows that I'm at. If you didn't see my previous podcast, I'm making a temperature blanket for my and my husband's first year of marriage. We got married towards the end of April of last year. Yeah, and so that's been a really fun project. I worked on it some last night. My husband and I have a creative project that we're working on together, a writing project, and he was doing all the typing, and I was, happily crocheting away and doing lots of talking. So yeah, I'm about a month and a week behind, but my goal is to finish the temperature blanket on our first anniversary. Okay. Next item on the list is socks. I definitely want to make more socks this year. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Next item is something with cables. I have not done any cables since I was a teenager, so that's more than a decade. I was trying to knit, I think, a cabled hat back in the day. I didn't really like how it looked, and I found the cables very difficult. I had less patience and I had less experience knitting. So I will be hopefully knitting something with cables for this year, for my Make 9 this year. And then one of my Make 9 items is something black. I don't think that my Hoodola quite counts. It's a dark gray, but I wouldn't really call it black. So I would like to knit something black this year. I wear a lot of black. It's actually one of my favorite colors to wear. I am a dark winter in terms of color season. So it's a color that looks very good on me. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain what I would like to knit that's black. So I'm leaving that one pretty open. And then the last item on the Make 9, as you will see, is the Christmas stockings. I mentioned those in my previous podcast. I still have not cast them on. I just have other projects that are kind of competing for more of my interest at the moment. So I just have other things that I would kind of rather be spending my knitting time on at the moment. And the Christmas stockings, I do have a full year. To work on those. So that is my Make 9 for 2026. And that is it. I believe that's everything that I wanted to talk about. I will hopefully be making another podcast episode sooner than like a month and a half from now. It's definitely going to be my goal to make these more frequently, because I really enjoy, I really enjoy watching people's podcasts, and it's really fun to contribute to the community that I really enjoy. So I'm hoping that I will be that I'll be podcasting again with less time in between this podcast and the next one as the previous and this one. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really happy to spend some time with you. I hope you've gotten some good knitting done, or maybe you've just had this on in the background while you're doing something else. I certainly do that. Yeah, I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and I hope that you are able to notice the beauty that the world puts in front of you. And I hope to see you again sometime soon, friend. Take beautiful care of yourself.